As a heart surgeon at the Mayo Clinic for 30 years, I saw cases every day where the difference between life and death was often just a heartbeat. I've held hundreds of human hearts in my hands. And I've seen tens of thousands of people die and come back to life. Throughout my career, I always approached everything from a scientific point of view. I had a deep belief in facts, in logic, and in understanding the world through evidence. I would even tell my students that when the brain stops getting air, any thoughts or feelings are just neurons firing for the last time, nothing more. Nothing spiritual. I was completely wrong. Though I didn't know it at the time. I still consider myself a scientist. Someone who believes in facts and making sense of things. But what happened to me proved that what we currently know in science isn't all there is to know. There is much more to this world than we can measure. Far beyond the realm of our understanding. If you believe in God and near-death experiences, subscribe to Life at NDE today. Discover inspiring messages from God through powerful near-death stories that bring hope and understanding. Hit subscribe now and join us in spreading the light of faith. It was January 3rd and I had just finished giving a talk on the newest techniques in heart revival at a medical conference in Phoenix. Looking back, I can't help but laugh at the irony of it all. Right after delivering my talk, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. As a heart surgeon, I knew instantly what was happening. I was having a major heart attack. When I checked my Apple Watch, I saw my heart rate skyrocketing. The doctor sitting next to me, Dr. James Chen, and I exchanged glances. "James, the anterior wall MI is in progress," I told him, already knowing the severity. According to the official records from Mayo Clinic Phoenix, I was clinically dead for 15 minutes and 12 seconds. There was no heartbeat. And no brain activity. They tried fibrillation 7 times. The team later told me they were about to call it when my heart miraculously started beating again. But what happened in those minutes would take a lifetime to describe. As soon as my heart stopped, I felt like I was floating above my body. I could see everything clearly from above. Watching my coworkers working to revive me. Hearing Dr. Sean calling for epinephrine. And seeing the cardiac monitor flatlining. But then, something changed. The scene began to fade. And I found myself moving through what I can only describe as a tunnel of light. But tunnel doesn't do it justice. The light was alive, conscious, and filled with love. The change from pain to peace was instantaneous. One moment, I was in unbearable pain. And the next, I was completely at peace. As I moved through this tunnel, I became aware of a presence. No, that's not quite right. I recognized that presence. The love emanating from this being was beyond anything our human minds could comprehend. It was God, but not the stern, judgmental image I had imagined from Sunday school. This was pure, unconditional love, so intense that it would overwhelm my physical body. But in this state, I could receive it fully. "Welcome, my child," the voice said. Though voice wasn't the right word. It was more like pure thought, streaming directly into my consciousness. The presence took on a form I could comprehend, not quite human. Yet not an overwhelming blaze of light. It was something in between. Shifting and undefined. As if it existed just at the edge of my perception. It was not limited by shape or substance. But rather, it adapted to my understanding, ensuring that I could grasp the encounter without being consumed by its enormity. I felt its awareness pressing gently against my own. Not intrusive but deeply knowing. As if it understood the boundaries of my mind and chose to honor them. There was an intelligence to it, vast, ancient, and patient. I sensed that it could have revealed itself in full. But doing so would have been too much for me to bear. Instead, it allowed me just enough clarity, just enough perception, to process the experience without being overwhelmed. It was as if I stood before something infinite. Yet it was bending itself to meet me where I was. To speak in a language my soul could understand. What happened next is why I share this story. God showed me a series of visions of the relationship between humans and technology. And what I saw both amazed and frightened me. The first vision was like watching humanity's entire technological evolution in fast forward, from the first stone tools to the printing press, to electricity, to computers, to our current digital age. But I wasn't just watching, I was experiencing the collective human consciousness throughout these developments. I felt the initial wonder, the expanding possibilities, and then the subtle change. "Do you see it?" the person asked, drawing my attention to something I hadn't noticed before. In the vision, I could see the golden threads of human connection, delicate yet resilient, weaving through people, families, and communities, binding them together in an intricate and timeless tapestry. These threads had endured through centuries, strengthened by shared experiences, laughter, sorrow, and love. They pulsed with the energy of genuine presence, the warmth of a hand held, the depth of a gaze met with understanding. But as I watched, something shifted. The golden threads began to fray, replaced by something else, thin, glowing strands of artificial light. These digital threads mimicked the golden ones in appearance, stretching far and wide, linking countless individuals in an instant. Yet as I reached out to touch them, I felt nothing. They carried no warmth, no pulse of life. They connected people in a way that was vast but hollow, present but distant, visible but without substance. The world, once rich with the vibrant energy of human presence, now shimmered with countless digital threads, efficient, convenient, but devoid of the soul that had once bound humanity together. The golden threads still existed, but they were growing rarer, struggling against the pull of artificial connection. And in that moment, I understood, we were not losing connection entirely, but we were exchanging something deep and irreplaceable for something shallow and fleeting. Humans have created wonderful tools, God explained. But you have allowed these tools to become false idols. They are replacing the direct connection to both divine and human love that I designed you to experience. The vision shifted, and I saw millions of people. Their faces illuminated by screens, but their spiritual light was fading. It is not that technology itself is evil, God has made that very clear. The problem is how we use it to fill the void that only real human connection and divine love can fill. I was shown the digital world, a vast and intricate web connecting millions. Notifications flickered like tiny sparks of light. Each like, each message, releasing a fleeting moment of pleasure, a counterfeit connection. The souls behind the screens, however, remained malnourished, longing for something deeper, something real. Lord, I asked, hasn't technology allowed us to connect more than ever? We can speak to people across the world instantly. The response did not come in words but unfolded as another vision. I saw two starkly different realities. In one, two friends sat across from each other in a cozy cafe, their phones tucked away, their eyes meeting with genuine connection. Their conversation flowed naturally, unbroken by digital distractions, their spirits intertwining and strengthening in the warmth of shared presence. Laughter and understanding flickered between them like candlelight, illuminating the depth of their bond. In the other reality, two individuals sat alone in dimly lit rooms, their faces bathed in the cold glow of their screens. Each was surrounded by a vast network of online connections, thousands of digital interactions at their fingertips. Yet an unshakable sense of isolation clung to them. Their notifications buzzed. Messages poured in. But none carried the warmth of a human gaze, the comfort of a knowing smile. Their worlds were filled with endless voices. Yet the silence of solitude pressed heavily upon them. The tool is not the problem, God explained. The problem is that humanity has forgotten the difference between connection and connection. I could hear the capital C in the second word. And it struck me like thunder. You have created a world of constant noise that drowns out my whispers to your hearts. Then came the most unsettling vision of all, a glimpse of a possible future. One that is not yet certain, but towards which we are heading. Human consciousness had become so fragmented, so overstimulated by digital noise, that people had lost the ability to hear the divine entirely. Their spiritual reception was cluttered with static. Their souls deafened by the endless flood of content, notifications, and distractions. But even as I trembled, the presence reassured me. This is why you are being shown these things. There is hope. A new vision unfolded, radiant with light and harmony. It was a world where technology existed not as a barrier but as a bridge. A tool wielded with wisdom rather than dependency. I saw families gathered around dinner tables, their devices set aside, their laughter weaving through the air like music. Conversations flowed freely, unhurried, deepening the unseen bonds that held them together. There was no sense of urgency, no impulse to escape into digital realms, only the richness of shared presence, the nourishment of both body and soul. Beyond the walls of these homes, I saw social media transformed, not a refuge from reality, but a conduit leading back to it. People used it not to retreat into curated illusions, but to seek one another out. To arrange real-world meetings where hands touched, eyes met, and hearts spoke in the language of the soul. Friendships flourished beyond the screen, strengthened by genuine moments of connection. Even the hum of technology had taken on a different tone. Meditation apps were no longer distractions but gentle guides, helping people quiet the noise of modern life rather than adding to it. They were instruments, not idols, leading seekers back to the stillness where they could hear the whispers of the divine once more. This was a world where technology had not replaced presence but enhanced it, where it served humanity rather than diminishing it. And as I beheld this vision, I understood that such a future was not beyond reach. It was a choice, waiting to be made. Technology itself is a gift, God continued. But like any gift, it can be misused. The key is consciousness and balance. I was shown how our minds are being rewired by constant digital stimulation, making it harder to enter the deep contemplative states where divine connection naturally occurs. But I was also shown that this can be reversed through conscious choices, by setting digital boundaries, by reclaiming silence, by choosing real moments over virtual ones. What should I tell them? I asked, feeling the weight of the message upon my soul. The answer came with crystalline clarity. Tell them to look up. Tell them to look into each other's eyes. Tell them to remember that I created them for deep, genuine connection, with each other and with me. Tell them that every time they choose a real conversation over a digital one, they strengthen their spiritual muscles. Every time they silence their phones to pray, to reflect, to simply be, they clear the channel between us. Then I saw something so profound it brought tears to my spiritual eyes. It was not just an image, not just a message, it was a truth so vast and all-encompassing that it filled every corner of my being. I was shown the immense, unwavering love of God. A love that embraced every soul, without condition, without exception. This love did not falter for those who doubted. It did not diminish for those who had turned away. It reached for them still, patient and unrelenting, like the steady light of the sun breaking through even the thickest clouds. I saw how every person, whether aware of it or not, was being gently, continuously called toward deeper connection, toward love, toward home. Yet, surrounding this divine call, I saw the noise of the modern world, so loud, so persistent. The endless distractions, the constant hum of notifications, the flood of artificial connection pulling hearts away from true communion. Not in anger, not in punishment, but in sorrow. I saw how many souls struggled to hear the voice of love beneath it all. It was not that the call had ceased, but that the world had grown too loud. Still, the love remained, undiminished. Still, the call persisted, waiting for a moment of stillness, a moment of silence, a moment when a soul would turn and listen. And in that moment, no matter how much time had passed, no matter how far one had wandered, love would be there, always there, welcoming them home. Your devices were never meant to be barriers between us, God explained. But too often, that is what they have become. When you check your phone first thing in the morning instead of beginning your day with gratitude or prayer, you are choosing digital connection over divine connection. When you scroll endlessly instead of speaking heart to heart with a loved one, you are choosing quantity over quality. Then I saw the true tragedy, not just the loss of connection with God, but the loss of connection with ourselves. So many were using technology to escape the very emotions and struggles that could have led to spiritual growth. Instead of sitting with their discomfort, seeking healing, or working through their pain, they numbed themselves with an endless stream of content. Tell them about the joy of real presence, the voice whispered. Then, the vision faded, and I was left in the stillness of my room. Heart pounding, mind awakened. The message was clear: technology is neither enemy nor savior. It is a tool, a powerful one, but it must never replace the deep, soul-nourishing connections we were created for. I do not know why this vision was given to me, but I know I must share it. Perhaps it is a warning. Perhaps it is a call to action. But I do know this: we must remember what it means to truly connect. God, in His infinite wisdom, reminded me of something profoundly simple yet increasingly rare in our modern world: the sheer beauty of being fully present in a moment, undistracted by the incessant pull of digital notifications. He showed me the deep peace that flows from genuine connection, not only with nature and with each other but with Him. In that sacred space, I was given a glimpse into the silent suffering of so many young souls, weighed down by anxiety and depression, much of it stemming from the artificial standards and relentless comparison cultivated by social media. Yet, through it all, God's love for these struggling souls was unmistakable, palpable in every way. It was not diminished by their distractions, not weakened by their doubts. It surrounded them completely, like the air they breathed, unnoticed at times, yet always present, always sustaining. This love did not condemn, nor did it demand perfection. It simply waited, endlessly patient, always calling, always inviting. And then, I saw something even more beautiful, a path to healing. It was not found in rejection. Not in fear. Not in turning away from the modern world. But in learning to walk through it with wisdom. Technology was not the enemy, it was merely a tool. One that could either distract or elevate, depending on how it was used. Healing would come not through isolation but through renewed focus, on real-world relationships. On presence. On deep and intentional living. I saw people setting down their devices. Lifting their eyes. And truly seeing one another again. I saw families reclaiming their time together. Friendships deepening through shared experiences. And communities reconnecting in meaningful ways. More than that. I saw souls turning inward. Remembering their spiritual hunger. Rather than seeking constant external stimulation. They sought silence. Reflection. And prayer. They did not abandon technology. But they no longer allowed it to master them. Their screens became tools of intention. Guiding them toward wisdom rather than distraction. This was the way forward, not rejection. Not withdrawal. But balance. A life where technology served. But did not rule. A world where the noise was quieted just enough for souls to hear once more the ever-present, unwavering call of love. The divine presence made something abundantly clear: technology itself is not the enemy. The problem is not the tool, but the unconscious way it is often wielded. When used mindlessly, technology can sever real-world bonds, replacing them with shallow interactions and fleeting validation. But when approached with wisdom and purpose, it can become a force for good, an instrument to spread love, to foster true connection, and to help guide people back to Him. Consciousness and intention, these are the keys. As my time in this sacred presence drew to a close, I was granted a final vision. I saw people all around the world awakening to the necessity of digital balance. I witnessed communities coming together to create designated tech-free spaces and sacred times for reconnection. I saw families rediscovering the profound joy of uninterrupted meals, where laughter and heartfelt conversation replaced the cold glow of screens. I saw individuals embracing the stillness of silent moments, their phones turned off and put away, allowing them to hear the quiet whispers of their own souls and the voice of God in their hearts. Then, God spoke one final truth: you are spiritual beings having a human experience, not digital beings having a virtual experience. Help my children remember this. Just before I was sent back, I received one last message, one that has since reshaped my entire perspective. The technology you have created can serve a divine purpose when used with wisdom and consciousness. But it must never replace the direct experience of love, both human and divine. That is what you were created for. The return to my body was abrupt. I gasped awake in a hospital bed 3 days later. My family gathered around me, their faces streaked with tears of joy. The doctors called my recovery miraculous: multiple broken bones and internal injuries that somehow healed faster than they had ever witnessed. But as profound as the physical healing was, it was not the true miracle. The true miracle was the message I had been given, the wisdom I was entrusted to share. Since that day, I have completely transformed my relationship with technology. I still use it, indeed. I am sharing this very story through digital means, but I use it consciously. As a tool rather than as a substitute for real connection. I have created sacred spaces in my life where technology does not intrude, set times for prayer, meditation, and quiet reflection. I prioritize face-to-face conversations over digital ones. I no longer allow the digital world to pull me away from the richness of the present moment, from the beauty of the life unfolding right before my eyes. And in doing so, I have found a deeper peace, a truer joy, and a more profound sense of connection with others, with myself, and with God. God, in His infinite wisdom, reminded me of something profoundly simple yet increasingly rare in our modern world: the sheer beauty of being fully present in a moment, undistracted by the incessant pull of digital notifications. He showed me the deep peace that flows from genuine connection, not only with nature and with each other but with Him. In that sacred space, I was given a glimpse into the silent suffering of so many young souls, weighed down by anxiety and depression, much of it stemming from the artificial standards and relentless comparison cultivated by social media. Yet, through it all, God's love for these struggling souls was unmistakable, palpable in every way. And I saw how so many of them could find healing, not through condemnation or rejection of technology but through a renewed focus on real-world relationships, on spiritual growth, and on intentionality in their daily lives. The divine presence made something abundantly clear: technology itself is not the enemy. The problem is not the tool, but the unconscious way it is often wielded. When used mindlessly, technology can sever real-world bonds, replacing them with shallow interactions and fleeting validation. But when approached with wisdom and purpose, it can become a force for good, an instrument to spread love, to foster true connection, and to help guide people back to Him. Consciousness and intention, these are the keys. As my time in this sacred presence drew to a close, I was granted a final vision. I saw people all around the world awakening to the necessity of digital balance. I witnessed communities coming together to create designated tech-free spaces and sacred times for reconnection. I saw families rediscovering the profound joy of uninterrupted meals, where laughter and heartfelt conversation replaced the cold glow of screens. I saw individuals embracing the stillness of silent moments, their phones turned off and put away, allowing them to hear the quiet whispers of their own souls and the voice of God in their hearts. Then, God spoke one final truth: you are spiritual beings having a human experience, not digital beings having a virtual experience. Help my children remember this. Just before I was sent back, I received one last message, one that has since reshaped my entire perspective. The technology you have created can serve a divine purpose when used with wisdom and consciousness. But it must never replace the direct experience of love, both human and divine. That is what you were created for. And then, in an instant, I felt myself being pulled back. The tunnel of light that had carried me into this realm gently returned me to my body. The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air on the floor of the conference room, surrounded by my shocked co-workers. Dr. Chen was still there, tears streaming down his face, unable to believe what had just transpired. The cardiac monitor, which had shown a flat line just moments before, now displayed a perfect sinus rhythm, better than my normal baseline. It was nothing short of miraculous. Since that day, my understanding of life, death, and the nature of consciousness has been completely transformed. I've come out of retirement to establish a research institute focused on studying near-death experiences, NDEs, from a scientific perspective. We're utilizing the latest neuroimaging technology and theories from quantum physics to better understand these profound experiences. We've been looking into the connection between consciousness and what happens when the body dies, seeking to explore how the spiritual world interacts with the physical world. Since that day, I have completely transformed my relationship with technology. I still use it, indeed. I am sharing this very story through digital means, but I use it consciously, as a tool rather than as a substitute for real connection. I have created sacred spaces in my life where technology does not intrude, set times for prayer, meditation, and quiet reflection. I prioritize face-to-face conversations over digital ones. I no longer allow the digital world to pull me away from the richness of the present moment, from the beauty of the life unfolding right before my eyes. I have learned to listen for God's voice in the silence between notifications. The changes in my life have been profound, my relationships are deeper. My spiritual connection is stronger. My mind is clearer. And most importantly, I feel aligned with my true purpose, helping others find the same balance. To everyone reading this, I want you to know that God's love for you is beyond anything you can imagine. The divine presence I experienced wants nothing more than for you to experience the fullness of genuine connection, with others and with the divine. Technology can be part of that journey, but it should never be the destination. Take a moment right now. Look up from your screen. Take a deep breath. Feel the possibility of deeper connection that exists in every moment. And remember, you were created for so much more than digital distraction. You were created for love, for genuine connection, for divine communion. The choice of how to use technology is yours. Choose wisely. Choose consciously. Choose love. Since my experience, I've started speaking at churches and community centers about finding digital balance while maintaining strong faith. I've seen countless people transform their lives by making simple changes in how they interact with technology. It's not about giving up our devices, it's about putting them in their proper place. I still keep the shattered remains of my phone from that fateful day. It serves as a reminder of how I used to live and the precious message I was given to share. Every time I look at it, I remember God's words about modern technology and our desperate need for genuine connection. If you're reading this, it's no accident. Perhaps you're being called to examine your own relationship with technology and spiritual connection. Remember, every moment is an opportunity to look up, to reach out, to connect deeply, to listen for the divine whisper in your heart. The message I was given isn't just about the dangers of technology. It's about hope that we can use these incredible tools wisely while staying connected to what truly matters. Hope that we can find our way back to genuine human connection and divine communion. Hope that we can create a future where technology serves our highest good rather than diminishing our spiritual potential. As I conclude this account of my near-death experience, I want to emphasize that the most important thing I learned wasn't about technology at all. It was about love. God's love for us is infinite and unchanging. No amount of digital distraction can diminish it. The question is, are we willing to quiet our devices long enough to feel it? As someone who was once a skeptic, I understand the doubts people might have. And I respect that skepticism. But I would ask them to consider this. As a surgeon, I've been trained to observe, to take precise notes, and to remain objective. The specifics I observed about Jesus, his light brown hair with golden highlights, the way his eyes shifted between brown and blue, the color and texture of his skin, and his perfect proportions, are not vague or mystical descriptions. They are detailed, precise observations from someone who is trained to notice the smallest nuances and stay objective. I know that these details can't easily be dismissed as coincidence. Nothing has changed. And yet everything has changed. After my experience, I still approach life with the same critical mind. But now I understand that our physical world is just the surface of something much deeper, far beyond what we can see or measure. The scientific laws we study in physics, biology, and chemistry are only the surface level of a greater, divine reality. The connections between time, consciousness, and the spiritual realm are far more profound than we currently understand. I've started documenting every detail of my experience. hoping that it can help scientists and researchers understand NDEs better. I've also been collaborating with artists who have had similar experiences to create more accurate depictions of Jesus's appearance. We're working together to bring a more truthful representation of him to life, based on what we've all seen in our individual experiences. But the most profound change is not in the work I'm doing, it's in me. If you've had a similar experience but have been afraid to talk about it, I want you to know that you're not alone. As a doctor, I can tell you with absolute certainty that consciousness transcending physical death is not only possible, it is, in fact, what I now understand to be our natural state. It's a part of the deeper, eternal reality that we are all connected to, whether we realize it or not. If you believe in God and near-death experiences, subscribe to Life at NDE today. Discover inspiring messages from God through powerful near-death stories that bring hope and understanding. Hit subscribe now and join us in spreading the light of faith.